Hi guys. Okay, so we're going to work in our 8th grade ELA workbook, and I'm going to start with you on page 5, reading the first passage called The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. So while I read, I want you to follow along, don't just listen to me. Tom got up hungry and sauntered hungry away, but with his thoughts busy with the shadowy splendors of his night's dreams, he wandered here and there in the city, hardly noticing where he was going, or what was happening around him. People jostled him, and some gave him rough speech, but it was all lost on the musing boy. By and by he found himself at Temple Bar, the farthest from home he had ever traveled in that direction. He stopped and considered a moment, then fell into his imaginings again, and passed on outside the walls of London. Tom discovered Charing Village presently, and rested himself at the beautiful cross built there by a bereaved king of earlier days. Then idled down a quiet, lovely road past the great cardinal's stately palace, toward a far more mighty and majestic palace beyond, Westminster. Tom stared in glad wonder at the vast pile of masonry, the wide-spreading wings, the frowning bastions and turrets, the huge stone gateway with its gilded bars and its magnificent array of colossal granite lions, and the other signs and symbols of English royalty. Was the desire of his soul to be satisfied at last? Here, indeed, was a king's palace. Might he not hope to see a prince now, a prince of flesh and blood, if heaven were willing? At each side of the gilded gate stood a living statue, that is to say, an erect and stately and motionless man-at-arms, clad from head to heel in shining steel armor. At a respectful distance were many country folk and people from the city, waiting for any chance glimpse of royalty that might offer. Were arriving, splendid carriages with splendid people in them and splendid servants outside. Were arriving and departing by several other noble gateways that pierced the royal enclosure. So down below it gives you a couple different words and their meaning, but we're going to continue on page 6. Poor little Tom, in his rags, approached and was moving slowly and timidly past the sentinels with a beating heart and rising hope, when all at once he caught sight through the golden bars of a spectacle that almost made him shout for joy. Within was a comely boy, tanned and brown with sturdy outdoor sports and exercises, whose clothing was all lovely silks and satins, shining with jewelry, at his hip a little jeweled sword and dagger, dainty buskins on his feet with red heels, and on his head a jaunty crimson cap, with drooping plumes fastened with a great sparkling gem. Several gorgeous gentlemen stood near, his servants without a doubt. Oh, he was a prince, a living prince, a real prince, without the shadow of a question, and the prayer of the pauper boy's heart was answered at last. Tom's breath came quick and short with excitement, and his eyes grew big with wonder and delight. Everything gave way in his mind instantly to one desire. That was to get close to the prince and have a good, devouring look at him. Before he knew what he was about, he had his face against the gate bars. The next instant one of the soldiers snatched him rudely away, and sent him spinning among the gaping crowd of country gawks and London idlers. The soldier said, "Mind thy manners, thou young beggar." The crowd jeered and laughed, but the young prince sprang to the gate with his face flushed and his eyes flashing with indignation, and cried out, "How darest thou use a poor lad like that? How darest thou use the king, my father's meanest subject so? Open the gates and let him in."